Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
It is Thursday, and all of our guests today, including Farhan, standing by, are brought to you by the Vancouver Giants. Giants' next home game is Saturday, December 14th, a couple Saturdays from now at 7. The Teddy Bear Toss night as they take on Victoria. What a visual the Teddy Bear Toss is.
Awesome. Just an awesome thing in junior hockey.
All over junior hockey. Head to VancouverGiants.com to get single game tickets, flex packs, and more. Gary Bettman at the bottom of the hour, but joining us now to talk about what's happening with the BC Lions and the Canucks, Farhan Lalji from TSN. Farhan, thanks for doing this, sir. How are you?
Good. Donnie, are you sick again?
You know what? I think all three of us are fighting something right now.
Well, okay, so in Henderson's case, if they brought back Nina, the show would be better off. And for you, like the last time I talked to you a couple of weeks ago, you were sick. Like your kids are old now, right? Like you don't have to say the kids are bringing the sickness into the house. So what's the deal?
I don't know. This thing's hanging on. I never really got completely 100%, and now it's okay. A little bit back. And I guess, you know what? I gave Ryan credit for sucking it up and showing up today, and maybe I should give myself a pat on the back. If I was double jointed, I could do that.
Let's pat you on the back.
Okay. Thanks for that.
Way to go, Donnie.
Thank you. Donnie. Very good. And thank you for joining us. Buck Pierce, right choice for the BC Lions, Farhan?
Yeah, I think so. I think it was important to them to get the offensive side of the ball figured out, given what they've got invested in Nathan Rourke. And, I think Buck is ready. People look at Buck, and he's not necessarily a guy that presents like an alpha, And it's funny going through this process around the league when you look at who candidates are, and it always seems to be that the defensive guys present a certain way, right? Like they've got that front of the room mentality, and the offensive guys tend to be a little more cerebral, and then we think they're introverted, right? So I know that Buck's had to wear that a little bit, but I think there's more there. And, one of the things is when you coach in Winnipeg, they don't really let you talk to the assistant coaches very often. And, so he doesn't necessarily have those kinds of doesn't have those reps, for lack of a better description, right? He doesn't get those opportunities to do that. So when you look at him, I thought he did fine yesterday, but he doesn't necessarily jump out in the press conference, whereas I do think there's a lot of substance there, and I think he understands what works culturally in a place like Winnipeg and what he could potentially apply here. So I think when you look at all the applicants that were there, I think Buck was probably the best choice.
Yeah, I'm not so sure early in his career if Bill Belichick jumped out as an alpha male, and he did just fine. Hey, they lose Jordan McSimic, their OC. He goes to Edmonton. Where does that leave the Lions, Farhan?
Well, look, if you were going to have Buck Pierce, you weren't going to have Jordan McSimic, right? Like that just wasn't going to make sense for anybody because they're both on the offensive side of the ball. I think there was a chance, that had Mike Benavides got the job, that Jordan might have stayed, and and at the same time, with Jordan was one of the three finalists for this job as well, and I'm sure his time is going to come. But offensively, I think that what Buck Pierce does is a lot different, right? I mean, what Jordan does, he's big on pushing the ball downfield. He likes the explosives, and that works, but it works until it doesn't, right? And sometimes when you see teams that may play, all the off coverages that the Lions saw this year, you've got to do some things underneath. I don't think they were as comfortable doing that. Whereas when you look at what Buck's offense does, a lot of misdirection, a lot of motion, a lot of underneath, but they still manage to take the explosives, and they've got the run game involved as well. So I think it'll be a more physical offense. I think it'll be a more balanced offense. And, and I think from Jordan's perspective, a chance to work with a guy like Trey Ford should be interesting because, certainly you've got a more finished product than Nathan Rourke, or even if he had gone to Winnipeg, who was interested in him, and work with Zach Caleros, those would have been good things. But if you can all of a sudden go and say, I helped Nathan Rourke in 2022 as a rookie set the league on fire, then I helped VA get the best out of his career, and now I can do something like that with Trey Ford. What does that do for Jordan McSimic going forward?
Is there a chance Buck Pierce could be the OC as well, Farhan? He's got to make a decision on the DC as well. What's going to happen there?
Absolutely, Buck Pierce is going to be the play caller. Now, whether or not he carries the offensive coordinator title, we'll see, because sometimes you got to give that up just to get a guy into the building, right, on a promotion quote, right? But Buck will be the play caller. He confirmed that yesterday. And don't be shocked, guys, if Mike Benavides is the defensive coordinator here. I think he's going to get strong consideration to remain on the staff. Could it be as a special teams guy? It could, but I don't know that they want the entire band back together with Benny and Ryan Phillips. I think they probably want a little more, culture change overall than that. But I do think that Benny's going to get some serious consideration as the defensive coordinator here, and I think that would be a good thing. I think they should try to find a way to keep him in the building.
Neil McElvoy told me that one of the greatest things, all these people that were up for the head coaching job, their biggest lure to Vancouver was Nathan Rourke. They all wanted to work with Rourke. Now, can Buck turn him around? Because that's not what the Lions need, is what they saw last year. They need the guy that went to the NFL or before he went to the NFL. Talk about Buck and Nathan and turning him around.
Yeah, I think so. I think they'll, again, put him in a position to be a little more balanced so that when he takes his shots, he's in a better position to succeed. But really, look, this is, I was as much as anybody on that Nathan Rourke train about how good he was in 2022, and I'm not walking that back. But understand the team was better, right? All elements of that team were better, and also it was the first time through for Jordan McSimic, and people didn't necessarily have a sense of how they wanted to defend quarterback or coordinator. So they've got to get better in a number of different areas, right? They've got to get better along the offensive line, and they've got to get better at receiver, right? Because their receiving core in 22 was a lot better than it was last year, right? So I think Hatcher will be better because he's going to be healthier. I think McInnes, they'll find a way to retain him and things will work out there, but they've got to make sure that they get better in those areas as well, because I do think that Buck has the ability to get the most out of Nathan.
Hey, and Farhan, before we let you go, what's in Rick Campbell's future? A lot of people thought he was going to get the head coaching job at Edmonton.
I think Rick Campbell's going to kick his feet up and enjoy getting a paycheck for a year without necessarily having to work because he's still on the payroll. Right, he's still got a paycheck for another year. So this is Donnie Taylor territory where we can get paid but not always work, right? So I think there's a future for Rick Campbell in the CFL. I think he'll get back in next year, but I would be surprised if he just didn't enjoy life this year. Which most coaches will tell you, if you can get 1 year in the middle of your career to do that, it's the best thing for you. You can network, you can. Go down and volunteer in the NFL for a year. You can go just, do everything you can for your professional development and come back a better coach. And I think Rick will do that.
When you say I'm getting paid and not really working, are you talking about right now?
Well, look, I know when you've got Rick beside you. Rick confided last week that he was never going to drive the bus ever. So I know you've got to do that. And,
yeah.
With Henderson, it just depends on what day he wakes up and what state he's in when he comes in.
Yeah, I'm not knocking him today because he is not feeling well and he sucked it up much like myself. I guess.
Is Hendo's playing hurt? Love it.
Yeah. He's playing hurt and doing a fine job, and so are you, Farhan. Thanks for this, sir.
Thanks, guys. Take care.